Welcome back, DIVEBOMB IndyCar podcast. And first of all, apologies for this episode is a little bit later than usual. We've had a couple of plans change in the last week or so. So hence why this episode is going out on Thursday, just before the action starts at Long Beach. Apologies for that. As we sort of alluded to last week, it is a very difficult time to create content because there isn't really much going on because the racing is a bit slow at the minute. And there's just not much going on. So this week will be a bit of a bits and bobs because have a bit of off-season vibes. I think it'll be called in-seasoning probably. So we'll have many off-season vibes this week. But we're going to do some different things. We'll recap the news. We've got a driver clip to play you who we spoke to briefly yesterday in a virtual press conference. We'll do a previewing towards Long Beach, more of an in-depth preview than we usually do. So the thing that we'll start off with, which I'm most looking forward to, is we'll play a game of IndyCar Connections, which we'll explain in a minute. But yeah, a very tough period, but I'm glad we got Long Beach, and this is really where the action starts picking up into Barber in the month of May, and before we know it, it's Nashville.
I'm just trying not to think beyond Long Beach, to be honest, because we've got to do it one last time, this silly 3-week break. But we do have the Indy 500 Open test in between then, so that's coming up, and that should punctuate this gap a bit more nicely because it's been such a stagnated start to the season. I think I don't know whether we touched on the TV rating, which was about half of what we got at St. Pete. It was just all a bit of a disaster at Thermal. Well, I say disaster. I mean, it was in the 700,000s, which, to be fair, is still better than the majority of what happened last season. And IndyCar was up against NASCAR. NASCAR was on FS1, which it's not Big Fox, which is what IndyCar was on, but you know, NASCAR has its loyal audience, so you were never going to get something that impressive.
Respectfully, that is IndyCar's fault and a problem that should not happen, especially if you have the same broadcast partner broadcasting both the races. But I think the viewership was lower than Thermal last year, which in fairness was a made-for-TV event, which is still a very laughable statement to us. But I think it was a 50% drop from St. Petersburg, and that 3-week break loses that initial hype, which is a shame. You know, St. Petersburg wasn't a great race, and I mean Thermal wasn't a great race either, not helped by the blackout, which will be interesting for Long Beach numbers. So I mean, another big weekend. IndyCar's really got to bounce back at one of its more traditional races and really recover what was a pretty poor viewership rating. It was, I mean, pretty much last year's numbers, or in the realm of last year's numbers, which is not what we want. Fox did not have minutes for Super Bowl coverage and put in loads of investment to be getting the same as NBC. We want to grow the sport. Thermal's always a bit of a difficult event, but hopefully onwards and upwards, despite a few issues. I mean, there's already talk about calendar next year. I mean, we don't know whether Thermal's going to be back or not, but that's something to discuss probably later down the summer than in April, because we've only had 2 of 17 races in 2025. And as I said, we're going to start off with IndyCar Connections. Now, if you've ever played Connections, it's quite a popular game. It's like a Wordle style game on the internet. I play a football edition quite a lot. Soccer for all the American listeners out there, the proper football back over here. But what it is fundamentally is we'll have 16, in this case, drivers, who are divided into 4 categories. So 4 people per category, 4 drivers per category, and there's 4 categories from a bunch of 16, and you have to work out who's in what category. So I sent an example one to Archie, which I'll read up to you. First of all, so listeners, you can play along. Let's have you playing along this episode. Let's know how you do. So we'll get one for you to play along, and hopefully you get a gist of what the game is sort of like. So here's the list of 16 I gave earlier. So if you want to write it down, listeners, please do. So it's Takuma Sato, Scott Dixon, Sebastian Bourdais, Christian Rasmussen, Dan Weldon, Joseph Newgarden, Marcus Armstrong, Kyle Kirkwood, Tristan Vautier, Romain Grosjean, Linus Lundqvist, Oliver Askew, Juan Pablo Montoya, Simon Pagenaud, Kiffin Simpson, and Pato O'Ward. So there is a list of 16 drivers who we've divided into 4 different categories of 4 drivers. Now, your task now is to work out who goes in what category and what the category is. So I'll read out the categories in a minute. So pause the video if you want to play along yourself, so I don't spoil it for you, and work out how these people are all interlinked into 4 different categories. So now we're unpaused. I'll go over what those categories were. So the most basic one is probably they're just French, which was Sebastian Bourdais, Tristan Vautier, Romain Grosjean, and Simon Pagenaud. Race for Chip Ganassi in 2024. So Scott Dixon, Kiffin Simpson, Linus Lundqvist, and Marcus Armstrong. 2-time Indianapolis 500 winners. So Joseph Newgarden, Takuma Sato, Dan Weldon, and Pablo Montoya. And Indy Lights champions or Indy Next champions in Christian Rasmussen, Oliver Askew, Carl Kirkwood, and Pato O'Ward. So I'd like to think we have explained that well enough for listeners.
Well explained. Well explained.
So Archie understood it when I explained it to him. So hopefully that makes sense. 16 names, 4 categories, 4 drivers per category. Work out the driver, work out the category. We will be as open as we can, and we'll give a few hints because it probably won't be easy. I think mine are actually quite hard to be honest. So
yeah,
we'll see how we get along.
Yeah, mine are also. I actually don't know how hard you'll find it, to be honest. So we shall see. I came up with them very, very quickly. So but yeah, this is hopefully a nice interactive episode for you listeners and viewers as well. There will be a lot of pausing and unpausing, I think, and I'll give credit in advance to Dan for the editing job that he will be doing, because I know quizzes can be quite the task to edit, given all of the preamble and the thinking time. Let's just put it that way.
So me and Archie have prepared 2 rounds each for each other. Do you want me to give you one of mine first of all, just so?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go for it. So I'll write this down slowly because you'll have to write down 16 names. So again, listeners, write yours down, play along if you'd like to, and see how far you get. So we'll start off with Rick Mears, Felix Rosenqvist, Alex Palou, Marco Andretti, Al Unser, Christian Lundgaard, Roman Grosjean, Graham Rahal, David Malukas, Scott McLaughlin, Helio Castroneves, Pietro Fittipaldi, Rinus VK, Colton Herta, AJ Foyt, and Connor Daly. So 16 names there, 4 different categories. So listeners, play along, try and see if you can work out what category they go into and how, well, what 4 drivers they are first of all, and how they are linked. So anything spring to mind already, Archie?
Yes, actually.
Good start.
I believe Marco Andretti, Al Unser, Graham Rahal, Pietro Fittipaldi. It's something to do with relations. I'm going to say they are sons of. Is it sons or?
You have got the category, so but not the right list. Some overlap. Some do overlap between multiple categories. So there is a category. Okay. Fathers raced in IndyCar.
Okay. Fathers race. So I've got the category correct, but not the drivers.
Not the drivers correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's a good one because I thought this would be quite difficult, but you got that straight away, so that's good. Fittipaldi is also eligible, but he is in a different category in this one to make clear. So
okay,
I'll help you out.
Oh, so it's going to be Connor Daly, I guess.
So
sorry, Daly's dad was in F1, wasn't he?
So what's your 4 at the minute?
So my 4 at the minute is Andretti, Unser, Rahal, and Fittipaldi.
No.
So Fittipaldi is incorrect.
Fittipaldi is incorrect.
Are any of the others? Are the others correct?
There are 2 correct.
2
so
correct.
Far, is what I tell you.
So Unser is, I guess that's incorrect.
Unser is incorrect. He had a son.
Because it's not.
Yeah. He had a son who raced an IndyCar. But
yes.
I don't think he had a father who raced in IndyCar.
So sorry, I've got the category correct.
You've got the category correct.
Their fathers raced in IndyCar.
Yeah, yeah.
So Marco and Graham Rahal are correct.
Yep. There's one I'm surprised you haven't got. I'll put it that way. There's one I'm very surprised you haven't got.
I just need to make sure my list's actually correct.
It's one of the ones I found quite good pride in coming up with.
I'm sorry, Colton Herta.
Yep, Colton Herta.
I don't know how that wasn't just jumping straight out at me.
Yeah, Yeah, and there's one more.
That is more obscure, would you say?
Somewhat. Obviously, Michael Andretti, Bobby Rahal, and Brian Herter racing mainly between the 80s and the 90s. Those three, obviously, Indy 500 winner in there, a couple of championships.
There's nothing leaping out at me.
Fine.
So I've gone to another category.
Yeah, sure. It's just a good start. I thought you might struggle with that one, so it'd be a good start.
So I've got another. I think I've got another category.
Okay.
Possibly drivers of the number 3.
That's not a category I've got, but I guess it's a good thought. McLaughlin, Castro Neves.
Yeah, Mears, McLaughlin, and Castro Neves.
No, it's a good thought. A good idea, but no. There's one I think the listeners would have got straight away, especially if you're into your IndyCar history. Would have got immediately, probably.
IndyCar history is not my forte as a 19-year-old Brit. Is there something to do with 4-time Indy 500 winners?
That is one of the categories, yes. Legends of Sport is the one I'd imagine the viewers, some of the listeners would have got very quickly on this occasion.
Rick Mears, Helio Castro Neves.
Yes.
AJ Foyt.
Yes.
And Alonso.
Correct. So that's your first category boxed off. 4-time Indy 500 winners. So well done. Got that one out of the way fairly early on. So you've got 3 more categories to work out. Obviously, you're well on the way to one of them.
Great idea, by the way. This is good fun.
The drivers remaining, listeners, just in case that's the only one you've got, is Felix Rosenqvist, Alex Palou, Marco Andretti, Christian Lundgaard, Romain Grosjean, Graham Rahal, David Malukas, Scott McLaughlin, Pietro Fittipaldi, Rinus VeeKay, Colton Herta, and Connor Daly.
Okay, so I know for a fact I'm one off in that one category of fathers.
Yeah, I think that's the case if you've got to rule out whose father definitely didn't race an IndyCar and work out who's remaining, I think is the strategy for that one. As I said, Pietro Fittipaldi would be eligible, but he's just on a different category on this occasion. So we will get that a few times, unfortunately, just where...
So I would have had it bang on then. I'll throw it out. Is it Connor Daly?
It is Connor Daly.
Okay, so
it is Connor Daly.
I knew his dad raced in F1.
Yes, so his dad raced in F1 between 1978 and 1982. He made his kart debut, which is obviously won the old forms of IndyCar in 1982. Raced until 1989 for quite several teams. He got podium in Milwaukee in 1987 to Connor Daly's dad. So yeah, does have a bit of IndyCar experience. That's another category ticked off. So 2 categories to go for you. So remaining is Felix Rosenqvist, Alex Palou, Romain Grosjean, David Malukas, Scott McLaughlin, Pietro Fittipaldi, Rinus VeeKay, and that's it.
I think I have an idea.
Shout it.
No, because this could be... Is one of the categories driver won as a sophomore?
No, it's a good thought, but no.
Because I think... Did Felix Rosenqvist win in his second year?
Yes, he did, 2020.
Palou did as well. Yes. Lundgaard did as well.
Yes.
McLaughlin did too. VeeKay.
Well, McLaughlin was technically his 3rd year because he did one race in 2020.
But it was. I think that class is his sophomore year.
And
VeeKay did as well.
Yeah, VeeKay.
So that was 5 for that category. Thinking outside the box.
4 because I wouldn't include McLaughlin. So there we go. Well, you got a category. It's just not one of mine. Good thinking. It's more mainstream than that, I'd like to think.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think I'm ignoring the obvious. I'm thinking quite. I'm looking for little connections. Grosjean and Fittipaldi have the Haas link.
No, not to do with Haas on this occasion. Nope. So I'll give you a hint.
Is it something to do with F1?
No, nothing to do with F1 on this occasion. There are 2 F1 drivers in there, but no.
Yeah, but I was thinking of drivers who had links with F1 teams. Yeah, Palou, McLaren, Lundgaard with Renault, Alpine.
Yes.
Grosjean, Fittipaldi.
Yeah, absolutely. So one's to do with a team, but it's not just race for that team. It's something else with the team. And another one is to do with an award. My hints are the 2 categories you need to go.
So one of them is going to be Rookie of the Year.
Yes, one of them is Rookie of the Year.
That was a very, very good hit. Very, very good hint. So that is Lundgaard.
Yep, he won it in 22.
McLaughlin beat Grosjean.
In 21, yep.
VeeKay was Rookie of the Year. No. Yes, VeeKay in 2020.
Yes, correct.
And that means Palou was not rookie. Rosenqvist.
Yes, there we are. So there's your 4. So you know the drivers in the last category are going to be Alex Palou, Roman Grosjean, David Malukas, and Pietro Fittipaldi. How are they linked? Any ideas?
They made their IndyCar debuts for Dale Coyne Racing.
They did make their IndyCar debuts with Dale Coyne Racing. So very nice.
That was good. Well done, Dan. That is a good set. I hope I've not made myself look dumb by any of that. That's always the threat when there's anything quiz based.
It always is on this podcast. It always is. I mean, let us know how you got on. Let us know if you got the categories. But yeah, I'll just re-go over them quickly just in case they weren't clear enough. So 4 times 500 winners were Mir, Unser, Cashew, and Foyt. Debuted with Dale Coyne Racing were Alex Palou, Roman Grosjean, David Malukas, and Pietro Fittipaldi. Their fathers racing IndyCar: Connor Daly, Colton Herta, Brian Rahal, Marco Andretti, and the Rookie of the Year winners Christian Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin, Felix Rosenqvist, and Rinus VeeKay. Cool, right. I'm ready. I hope.
You hope. Okay, so I'll go through again slowly. Joseph Newgarden, Sebastian Bourdais, Kyle Kirkwood, Felix Rosenqvist, Alexander Rossi, Christian Lundgaard, Marcus Ericsson, Oriol Servia, Santino Ferrucci, Will Power, Takuma Sato, Rick Mears, Roman Grosjean, Rinus VeeKay, Dalton Kellett, and Elio Castroneves.
Oh my word. Okay. Okay, right. The first one I'm going to go for is Indy 500 winners for Penske one.
It absolutely is, yeah. Well done.
Newgarden, Power, Mears, Helio.
Yep.
Great
Bang
start.
on.
Very proud of that. That was a fantastic start.
Well done, Dan.
Listeners, obviously, let us know how you get on. Get involved as well. So
while you ponder, Dan, I will read out who we have remaining. We have Bourdais, Kirkwood, Rosenqvist, Rossi, Lundgaard, Ericsson, Servia, Ferrucci, Sato, Grosjean, VeeKay, Kellett.
I'd go. Is one of them XF1 drivers?
Yes.
So Rossi, correct. Ericsson, Sato, Grosjean.
Yeah. See, I wanted to throw in some not so impossible ones.
Fine, that's what we always want to do. So I've got 8 left. Quite the mix here.
So those remaining are Bourdais, Kirkwood.
I might have it, you know.
Okay, go on.
Debuted for AJ Foyt.
That's not my category.
Oh, okay. So I know Kirkwood did. I know Kellett did. And I would have guessed Ferrucci did. You haven't also gone for Rookie of the Year drivers, have you?
No, I've not.
Rosenqvist, VeeKay, and Lundgaard came up, and maybe it was like Bourdais won it back in the day or something. Or
see, we're thinking outside the box here, and
more mainstream.
There's so many correct ones.
I was thinking RLO, but no, not really any. I mean, Kellett's the one which sticks out to me because Kellett didn't really do anything apart from race for AJ Foyt. Is one of them just raced for AJ Foyt?
It's not.
Not fine. Okay, fine. I was thinking 2 outside the box of debuting, but Kellett hasn't done much. I mean, it's not Canadian. He only raced for AJ Foyt. How about made their debut in 2020?
No,
I know Kellett didn't. I know VeeKay did. So that was my thinking there. But no. Coming up of ideas here is the name of the game. Bourdais is obviously a legend of the sport. So where does he fit in? Ferrucci.
I will say something. You have not been a million miles off.
Fine. With a specific one or with
something you've said?
Something I
multiple times.
Said. Well, it must be AJ Foyt then. So I haven't raced for AJ Foyt. I'm trying to think of who's raced for what team. Not RLL, because I can only think of 3 RLL drivers in there. Andretti, I can only see. No, I can't see 4 Andretti drivers in there. What about someone like Ganassi? No.
I mean, you will know this. You were fundamentally correct when you said driven for AJ Foyt Racing, but that's not my
I
category.
was fundamentally correct.
Well, because you were correct, but that's not my category.
Oh, so it's something more specific.
Yeah, it's more specific than drove for AJ Foyt Racing. But that is correct. It's
Okay,
just
well,
not
let me
one of
get
my
the driver.
categories.
Is Keller, I guess, the driver.
Yep.
Ferrucci,
Yep.
Bourdais,
Yep.
and Serbia.
Not on my list.
Not Serbia. I'd have made that up, probably. Oh, Kirkwood, of course.
Yes.
Sorry, that was a bit of a brain fade. I mean, it's simple, but race since 2021 for Foyt?
No.
Fine. I don't know why
Again, you're not wrong though.
I'm not wrong. You're
It's
fine.
not my category.
Is it the? No, it wouldn't be the top AJ Foyt racing driver because
You will kick yourself if you don't get it.
I'll kick myself if I don't get
because
it.
you're skirting right around it, but you're not getting it.
Skirting right around it. Something to do with AJ Foyt racing. I mean, Kirkwood didn't have much success at AJ Foyt racing, so that's not really helpful. And neither did Dalton Kellett. So, top AJ Foyt at the Indianapolis 500. No.
You're overcomplicating it now.
Overcomplicating it now. What is more simple than that? What is more simple than that?
I can't really give you another hint because it will give it away.
It will give it away.
Maybe that's a hint in itself.
Something to do with AJ Foyt racing. What have this team done? What have this team done? Raced in a rocket car.
No.
Throwing stuff out.
You're getting so close. You're very hot.
They raced the 14.
Yes. Eventually you have got it.
Got that.
So that was Dalton Kellett, Sebastian Bourdais, Kyle Kirkwood, and Santino Ferrucci. I believe the last 4 to drive in the 14 as well.
So then we're left with Felix Rosing, Gustavo Serbia, Christian Lingard, and Rinus VK. So I guess it's European winners?
No,
I didn't know if Serbia won a race, in fairness. That shows my knowledge, but that was just a guess. So there's no team in common here. Serbia is obviously quite a bit before. So there's no team in common. Indy 500 Rookie of the Year?
No.
3 Rookie of the Years in there.
I can see and sense the cogs turning in your head.
Cogs, yeah, absolutely. So how are these 4 individuals linked? Because they haven't raced for the same team. They're not from the same country. They are from Europe, but I don't think it's got anything to do with that. They haven't really been rumored of Aaron McLaren or Aaron McLaren.
I will say you are correct that they are all European race winners, but that's not my category.
Aurora Server did win a race. I was guessing that. Oh, excellent. Well, I'm pleased with that one at least. I came out of a category even if it's not the right one. So this is quite difficult because one in their second season.
No.
Kind of cover your categories again. I don't know if Serbia did, but there we are. We'll have to find out where Serbia won the second season like the other ones did.
I'll have a look.
They don't have a race winning place in common. Bit of a stumping around this one. Probably Serbia's a bit longer ago, so it puts you off a little bit because he's about a decade before the rest of the year.
I will say, don't let that put you off.
Don't let me put it off. So there's a link between the other ones. They are not Indy Next champions. Well, the VK is, but the other ones aren't. The other ones are not. You found out when Oreo Server won his first IndyCar race?
It was in 2005.
Which was what season?
That was his. Well, it's slightly confusing because of Champ Car and.
Fine.
But it was his. I think it was his 6th season.
Classic IndyCar history. Classic IndyCar confusing history. I've got any hints towards the category without maybe giving it away.
It is something to do with winning races.
Something to do with winning races. Have one career win.
Correct.
Nice. There we are. We got that. So
I know the hint kind of gave it away, but
there we
I'm
are.
not sure you were getting it without the hint.
Yeah, that was a good hint. So yeah, not bad. That I'm not too fussed. So Viewers, well, I'll read out my next 16. I think this one's this one's mixed. So I'll read out my next 16. So whether it's easier or harder, we'll find out. One, the categories is probably really hard, but I don't think you get the category, but you might get the drivers. So we'll find out. So we'll start off with Joseph Newgarden, Kyle Larson, Kenny Brack, Sage Karam, Colton Herta, Santino Ferrucci, Helio Castroneves, Felix Rosenqvist, Jacques Villeneuve, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Marcus Ericsson, Scott Dixon, Townsend Bell, Connor Daly, Kyle Kirkwood, and we'll end off with Linus Lundqvist. So listeners, pause again and play along if you want to play along with our IndyCar connections. And obviously, Archie, let us know any initial thoughts you've got.
So, initial thought is raced in NASCAR.
Yes, but it's more specific than that. Well, it's slightly more specific than that.
Okay. So, the drivers are Larson, Karam, Ferrucci, and Castroneves.
So no. Well, the answer is no. The answer is no.
They have all raced in some sort of NASCAR.
They
right?
have, and it's to do with NASCAR.
Oh, because Daly's racing NASCAR as well.
You just need to be a little bit more specific than just NASCAR, is my hint. You're on the right lines, though. You're certainly on the right lines. I thought that might be quite difficult, but you're on the right lines.
So let's just throw out a guess. Is it they've raced in the NASCAR Cup Series?
They all have, but that's not the category. It's to do with racing.
Daly's also in there.
It's to do with racing in a NASCAR Cup Series. I'll give you that, but it's not racing in a NASCAR Cup Series.
They've done the Daytona 500.
Yes. So
scrap Ferrucci and put Daly in there.
So what's your four?
Larson, Karam, Castroneves, and Daly.
There's three correct. So one of them has not done the Daytona 500. I know.
So
you'll work out which one hasn't.
So it's not Karam. Is Ferrucci in the Daytona 500?
Nope.
Okay.
That's not your four.
So I've got three.
You have got three, yeah. Actually, Karam's never done a cup race, apparently. So
okay. Has Jacques Villeneuve done the Daytona 500?
Yeah, he did the same year as Daly, I think. So there's your four.
Oh, really? Oh, wow, that recently.
Yeah, Larson, Castroneves, Villeneuve, and Daly have all competed in the Daytona 500. I think Larson was probably the huge giveaway for that one because he couldn't have been much else. But
stuck out a bit like a sore thumb.
Yeah, I thought it would be a little fun. Villeneuve actually also attempted it in 2008, but didn't qualify. But he did race in 2022.
Okay, so now I've got to unpick the rest.
Yes.
Race for Andretti?
No, that's not one of mine. I'm sure that you could make that up.
Herta Ericsson, Ericsson and Kirkwood for a start. Who else did I see on that list? Hunter-Reay.
Yes. No, that's good thought, but no. There's one I think there's one I think here which is a bit of a shoe-in.
Okay.
To be honest. Once you start thinking about it, I think you'll get
one-time Indy 500 winners.
No, last four. Ericsson, Hunter-Reay,
Dixon,
yeah, but there's no fourth. The good start of a NASCAR. I thought that'd be one would be quite difficult, but you got that one, which is good. I think maybe.
So he's with Indy Next champs.
No, nothing to do with that. No.
I hate it that you've said it that it's a shoe-in now because now I am.
There's one category I don't think you get, but I put it in for a reason. It'll be the last four drivers, basically. So you'll have to basically work out the other two categories, is what I'm going to suggest.
Anything to do with Andretti?
Nothing to do with Andretti. Absolutely nothing to do with Andretti. Although nice thought, but I think that'll probably be a bit too easy on this occasion.
Won the Indy 500 on the last lap?
No, not on this occasion. It's a nice thought, actually. Ericsson did, Newgarden did, Hunter-Reay did, Dixon did, but I don't think he did. What I would say is Brack is probably one of the giveaways for the category.
Oh, really? Okay.
which sounds weird, but you don't.
Ah, Swedish.
There we are.
Swedish drivers.
That's the
Of
hint you
course.
needed.
That was. That is.
That's
the shoe. I assume that's the shoe. Yeah.
That's the shoe. So I'm sure you've got it.
Okay.
It's
I
Kenny Brack.
think it felt too obvious. Yeah, Kenny Brack, Felix Rosenqvist, Marcus Ericsson, and Linus Lundqvist.
Correct. So you've got two more to go. Two more categories to go. So one of them I don't think you get, but I put in for a reason.
So remaining, I have Newgard and Karam, Herta, Ferrucci, Ryan Hunter-Ray, Dixon, Townsend Bell, and Kyle Kirkwood.
Yes, that's the 8 you've got left.
Kirkwood and Bell have both raced for Vassar Sullivan and Lexus in IMSA.
Rather niche, but I don't think anybody else has. I think it's good, but I don't think anybody else has.
It's very hard when it's just a list of names on a piece of paper.
It is very hard, and you have to work out how they are linked.
Is it something to do with age? No, it can't be something to do with age. Is it something to do with age?
No, nothing to do with age. Nothing to do with age. Well, that's a good thought, though. If you've got 4 drivers who are exactly the same age, that might have been a good one for maybe if we do it in the future. Unless you've got 1, 2 of age. But no, I don't. It's a good thought, though. Like that idea. Got inspiration for next time, but no, not to do with age.
See, there's only 3 champions there. So it's not going to be something to do with championships.
Nothing to do with championships. Nope. Yeah, Hunter A. Dixon, Newgarden also being the champions in there.
I'm going to need a hint, I think.
Fine. So
pointer. Not something that's going to give it away.
Yeah. There is a communal team in here.
And it's not Andretti.
There is a communal team in here.
Could it be Ed Carpenter Racing? I don't know whether there's a 4th.
There's not Ed Carpenter Racing. I guess you'd have Hunter Ray, Newgarden, and
I don't know if Karen race. He feels very. He feels very Carpenter, but
stereotypical American. Let me find out as to age Karen raced for Ed Carpenter Racing. He did not. No, he did not.
Feels very Carpenter. Communal team, and it's not Andretti.
Not Andretti, no.
Could it be AJ Foyt Racing?
No, it's not AJ Foyt Racing.
Okay, so but at least in knowing that rules out Herta, that rules out Kirkwood.
You could actually do 4 Andretti drivers to make clear, but
you've already said that it's not Andretti.
It's not Andretti, but you could do 4 Andretti drivers.
Yeah,
if you really wanted to. Hunter Ray, Herta, Kirkwood, Townsend, Bell for anybody. For anybody interested to put that, it's not the correct one. It's always easy. You make your own categories out of these sometimes, and you're convinced you've
really
done your own category.
Does this team still exist?
Yes, this team does still exist. Yes.
Okay. It can't be Ganassi because that rules out. I think Dixon's ruled out.
So who have you ruled out so far?
Dixon, Herta, and Kirkwood.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna guess it's Karam, Ferrucci, Hunter Ray, and Townsend Bell.
It is. Those are the 4. How are they linked?
Is this the one I should get, or that's?
The other one's the one which really isn't that good of a category, but the other one is the last 4 of something. Is the other category clue?
Okay.
Obviously, got the drivers being Carl Kirkwood, Scott Dixon, Colton Herta, and Joseph Newgarden.
Dale Coyne Racing?
Nope, not Dale Coyne Racing. Nope.
Team that's still around. I'm trying to think. Ferrucci being the most recent. I mean, he has been about the block. Is it Rahal?
No, it's not Rahal. No, I forgot. Ferrucci did do one race for Rahal, but no, it's not Rahal. You wouldn't think of Ferrucci racing for this team.
Oh, great. Is it Dreyer and Reinbold?
It is Dreyer and Reinbold. Yes.
Cool.
Bit of a harder one there. And the last 4, how are they said they're the last 4 or something?
The last 4 of something.
So Carl Kirkwood, Scott Dixon, Colton Herta, and Joseph Newgarden.
Can't be the last 4 winners on. No. Definitely not, because Alex Pillow's not there.
This one, it was made relevant to now.
Relevant to now.
I wouldn't. If we film this episode in September, I wouldn't do this category. if we filmed this episode in September.
That's 4 Long Beach winners.
Yes, last 4 winners
Nice.
in Long Beach. Newgarden,
Making it
Herta, Dixon,
topical.
and Kirkwood.
Well done.
There we are. So
Why am I saying well done? I'm saying well done to you, just to clarify. I'm not saying well done to myself. I'm saying well done to Dan for a good category. Well done.
categories. So if you missed it, the competed in the Daytona 500, Carl Larson, Helio Castroneves, Jacques Villeneuve, Connor Daly, Swedish, Kenny Brack, Felix Rosenqvist, Marcus Ericsson, Linus Lundqvist, Race for Dryer, Ryan Boyd Racing, Ryan Hunter Race, Antino Ferrucci, Sage Karam, Townsend Bell. The Long Beach winners, Carl Kirkwood, Scott Dixon, Carlton Herta, Joseph Newgarden. So one more to play.
This has been good fun. It's been good fun. Here you go, Dan. Marcus Armstrong, Simon Pagino, Mike Conway, J.R. Hildebrand, Alex Palou, Juan Pablo Montoya, Callum Ilott, Joseph Newgarden, Santino Ferrucci, Pato O'Ward, Spencer Piggott, Ryan Briscoe, Connor Daly, Dario Franchitti, Sebastian Bourdais, and AJ Allmendinger.
Well, I think it's wrong. We're going to have to go for it anyway. I'm kicking myself. Hello, Franchitti, Newgarden, and Bourdais, multi-time champions.
That is not my category.
Fine, it's not a category. Are they the 4 drivers, or you sound like you're going to say?
No, they're also not the 4 drivers.
Fine. Okay, fine.
Though you, do you want to know how many you got right out of that?
3,
that bunch?
3, I'd guess.
You got 3 correct.
I'll say Race for Juncos, Callum Ilott, Santino Ferrucci, Connor Daly, and Spencer Piggott.
Incorrect.
Category correct as well.
Yes.
I don't know if Piggott did race for Juncos actually, but he was the only one I know that I could sort of associate with the rest of them.
Hey, worth putting out there, but no. The quartet and the category both incorrect.
There's 3 British ones, so that's a bit frustrating. I was hoping that we'd have a 4th in there. Allmendinger's a bit an off-putting one because I mean he's races in NASCAR. That's all you need to know. So that's why that one is a bit of putting. And we have there's one to do Indy Lights Champions.
It's not, no.
I know Award and Newgarden did.
It's funny in this game because you will look afterwards and think, oh yeah, that's all really quite not obvious. But when it's just a list of 16 names, it's really hard to break down.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, right. Do we have Long Beach winners or multi-time Long Beach winners in here?
No.
Because I know Mike Conway is a multi-time Long Beach winner, and he's probably not much else. So that's why I put him in there. Can't figure. I think he raced for RLL. Is a category RLL drivers?
No.
No. Chip Ganassi drivers?
No.
No, cool. I mean, I saw 4 Bourdais, Franchitti, Armstrong, and Palou, so that was my impetus.
Again, it's another one of those that it's correct, but it's just you're not reading my mind.
It's not the category that you wanted to. There are 4 Indy 500 winners, but I don't think you just go for Indy 500 winners. I'm not even going to bother putting that in as a suggested guess.
There's no point guessing that.
Connor Daly's raced for everybody, so he's always really unhelpful. I think Connor Daly's been pretty much in every list today, so
that's why I've put him in there. Yes,
because he works for absolutely everything. Does Connor Daly now? We have is something to do with Penske?
Yes,
because I see. Are they Pagenaud, Montoya, Newgarden, Allmendinger? No.
You are 3 out of 4. Though.
Briscoe said of Allmendinger.
3 out of 4 still.
Allmendinger said of Montoya.
3 out of 4.
Oh, Montoya, Newgarden, Briscoe, Allmendinger.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So that's Steve Penske. Race the number 2.
Correct.
Nice. Okay, I'll take a bit of trial and error, but we got there. Steve Penske. It's probably when you have 5. You can work out 5. You need to work out which one is not on there.
Yep. So, do you want me to read out the remaining drivers?
Hang on. How about European IndyCar champions?
Also correct. You are on a roll.
Palou, Pagenaud, Franchitti, Bourdais.
Yes.
Suddenly, when I was really stuffed, I've actually in now a much better position. Much more recent drivers. Raced in Formula 2.
Also correct.
Bingo.
Callum
Ilott, Marcus Armstrong, Pato or Santino Ferrucci. So we're left with
Bingo.
Mike Conway, Spencer Pickett, Connor Daly, and J.R. Hildebrand, who I all presume race for Red Carpenter Racing.
4 out of 4 to close it. That is very impressive.
We got off to a very rocky start there, but the finish was sensational. So
that can make an appearance in our end of year moments. That is impressive.
There we are. Nice little roll to end off. That was superb. So, listeners, first of all, let us know if you enjoyed that concept. If you did, we might chuck out a few more now across the season because I thought I was quite enjoyable. We've got a few sort of IndyCar related games now, which are quite easy to make, but quite good fun. Connections, IndyCar 10 level. We've had quite a little bit of fun. So there we are. Those are
enjoyed that.
Your 4 rounds. Let us know how you got on, and let us know if you enjoyed it. But
let us know how idiotic we were. In parts.
We always
how stupid we look.
Oh, I know. We always sound absolutely terrible, don't we? But anyway, we'll move on to some of the news of the last week or so. And in this sort of, it's early on in the season, so you don't really have too much going on. So, the big one really was quite a surprise hire as J.R. Frye moves to Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing as their president. The team parted ways with Steve Erickson, who was the chief operating officer for about 2 years. So Jay Frye was the IndyCar president until he was basically sacked earlier this year and had held that role for a rather long time. So he's got a lot of experience. And he's just been copped up by RLL and quite a surprise move. We know he's got quite a good relationship with Graham Rahal, but it's just a bit of a surprise move in the last week or so.
Yeah, the first thing I thought of when I saw this news was a comment that Graham Rahal had made on, I think it was Media Day back in January, actually. He'd spoken about, basically just about some of the positives across the IndyCar off-season. He'd mentioned Arlington, and that I think it was even pre-COVID, he said that he'd had conversations with Jay Frye about it. And those two evidently have a really good relationship. I think Graham put out quite a warm tweet upon the news as well. So from that respect, it kind of made a lot of sense to me. Frye, in the eyes of IndyCar, of Penske Entertainment, did something wrong. But I think from a lot of the reporting after his sacking, it really seemed that what they perceived Frye to have done wrong is that he wasn't a yes man in some ways. He was challenging them. And maybe that's what a team like RLL need, a really authoritative figure, because they are not in a good position. But this is a guy who has experience in wide-ranging kind of executive roles, obviously in charge of IndyCar, but he's also been in this sort of team role as well with plenty of experience and success. So I think he's the sort of guy that RLL need. I think they probably are a team that need to hear some hard truths after some of the difficult years that they have endured. And it's not going to be an immediate process, but I think if he's there for the long term, I think this is a really, really shrewd acquisition. It's good to see Jay kind of land on his feet again so quickly as well.
It's somebody who's going to have a real in-depth knowledge of the series, which first of all, he obviously has to because he was running the whole thing. But first and foremost, that's what they need. It's been a rough couple of years, but they've made some big hires in recent times, and Jay Frye is hopefully going to be a person they hope will really lead the team forward because it's the harsh truth, which I'm sure they'll agree with. They've just been in a steady decline the last couple of years, and they seem to make change after change every off-season. Nothing really has seemed to have bared much fruition, and obviously Christian Lundgaard was a real loss in the off-season as well. So it's interesting. We look at it's going to take a while. Like they're not going to start winning races next week because of Jay Frye moving over, but he's got obviously a lot of experience. He said he managed some roles. I think at the IndyCar state he worked for Rebel Racing's NASCAR team, and he was the chief executive officer and general manager of MB2 Motorsports, the team he created. So he's very experienced in the motorsport field, and it's just an opportunity for them to have a leader at the front with the expertise who they think can make a difference, because they've just been really struggling and need a turnaround somehow.
Yeah, I think what I'd say about RLL is it feels like now 2 or 3 off seasons in succession. I think we've just been hearing about they've made this reshuffle, this personnel is they've either left or they've got new people in or they've got people switching cars, and every year it's kind of the same cycle of, you know, these people get spoken really highly of, but then they just end up being a misfit, and the team kind of seems to be resetting every off season, kind of half resetting. And I wonder whether this could signify just a total reset and refresh that they really seem to need. I think obviously with the loss of Lundgaard as well, who's been the shining light in a few difficult years, it maybe is the right time.
I think we'll quickly touch on Kyle Larson as well, just because his livery was released this week, and it's a bit of a downgrade in last year's. I'm a bit underwhelmed. Not enough papaya on there.
Yeah, that I was about to echo just that. Not enough papaya, I don't think. Too little McLaren.
Too little McLaren. There's more Hendrick this year than McLaren, which is a bit of a shame. There's a bit of papaya on the rear wing and the front wing, but I think last year it looked really nice, the orange and blue, and they put too much white on it this year, which is a little bit of a shame. Amazon Prime are doing a documentary like they were last year. Obviously, last year's documentary wouldn't have been very good because he didn't make it to Charlotte in time. But they're making another documentary this year about his attempt to complete 1,100 miles of racing in the same day, which is pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how it would do, but I mean, I'll certainly tune in. I hope other people tune in. And Kyle Larson is extremely underrated in a general motorsport sense. I mean, if you're an F1 fan new to IndyCar, I almost guarantee that you probably haven't heard of Kyle Larson, really. And yet he's regarded as one of the best talents, not only in American motorsport, but all in motorsport. We heard all the shining comments that drivers were giving him last year, saying it's not a shock of Kyle Larson with the Indy 500 because he's Kyle Larson. And he doesn't really get the recognition from his motorsport ability standpoint that he really deserves. I mean, he is one of the best drivers in the world. I know he has his moments in NASCAR, but the fact that he slotted in so well to Indianapolis last year, and he's done it in sprint cars, midget cars, whatever, it's a really exciting prospect. And hopefully this is shown to the world and people will be able to see the task that Kyle Larson is doing. I think it's quite incomprehensible. 1,100 miles. For example, F1 races are about I think they're about 200. He's doing 5.5 times that of racing in one day. It is truly, truly staggering. So hope it goes well and hope it's a good documentary, because I mean, I'll certainly be watching. So hopefully it doesn't let us down.
Yeah, I'm really interested to kind of get to the open test and kind of hear Larson speak, because we've not really heard from him much in an IndyCar sense since the 500 last year, apart from obviously the disappointment at not being able to complete the whole 1,100 miles. So I'm interested to see kind of what his goals, what his ambitions are, and whether the priority is simply just complete the 2 events. But I really think he can be competitive as well. Obviously, he has a year of race knowledge now under his belt at Indy. He's been through the cadence of the month, and okay, it was delayed and it wasn't the ending he wanted in terms of getting him for the full race in Charlotte. But it was still, you know, that is valuable experience going into the second year. He's messed up in the pit lane. He's messed up on a restart, but he now knows how not to mess up in those situations. And that was what last year was for, was the learning. And the raw speed from the outset for a team that is very competitive was super impressive. So yeah, I think ultimately I want to see him complete the 1,100 miles, but at the same time, I really do feel like he can be competitive, obviously in a NASCAR sense, but also in IndyCar as well.
We'll do a tiny bit of previewing towards Long Beach this weekend, and we're going to pick out 2 drivers each who we think need a big weekend at Long Beach. So I think we'll just elevator pitch style. 1 minute, give you everything you need to know about the drivers' weekend and why they need a huge weekend at Long Beach. So I'm going to start off with Scott McLaughlin. It's been a bit of a disappointing start to the season, had a bit of a disastrous thermal, and he was always playing catch up in the championship last year. He doesn't want to do that again in 2025. He wants to be a real championship contender. He had that last year, had that retirement in Long Beach whilst running pretty okay. However, with Palou having such a great start to the season, and both in our minds, those two are the 2 favourites for the championship, McLaughlin has got some work to do. So he needs a big weekend. We know Penske have been strong at Long Beach in recent years. Newgarden and One Power was leading the majority of the race last year. He needs a big race this weekend to put himself sort of back in the championship frame, to not fall too far behind and not having to do too much catch up later on in the season.
I think I'll probably go for his teammate Will Power, actually. Obviously, his drive at Thermal was super impressive, but that was only because he had such a poor qualifying. So, yes, he was absolutely electric in the race, making it back up to 7th, I believe it was, to 6th, actually, from 21st. But he can't be qualifying 21st again. And obviously, that was off the back of a disappointing St. Pete as well, where he'd qualified mid-pack. And okay, the incident at the very start wasn't the fault of anyone. But when you are qualifying in the middle of the pack, that is... you're leaving yourself susceptible to that sort of thing. So Power is, I believe, 14th in points. And I will just on the spot do the maths to work out that he is 69 points adrift of the championship lead already, which is obviously over a race. So he's in that same position as McLaughlin, really, where he's playing catch-up Power. And obviously, in the narrative behind the season that this is a contract year for him, and the pressure is on. And I think he's really got to, I guess, deliver like he did in Long Beach last year, which was he was one of the strongest drivers all weekend there. I think he was this where he missed out on the pole by like the fractionist of fractions,
couple of thousandths it was.
So yeah, a big weekend needed for all the Penske drivers, really.
I'm going to go to Marcus Ericsson. Had a bit of a disaster in Thermal, spun all by himself in quite an embarrassing mistake. Last year, he's now written off. It was a bit of a disastrous year, but Thermal was sort of one of those mistakes we saw him have last year. Long Beach is a great chance to turn it around. He was 5th here last year, which was his 2nd best result of the entire season. He was 3rd here the year prior. He was running really well here until he hit the wall in 2022. So Long Beach is a really good track for Marcus Ericsson. And we know full well Long Beach is a really good track for Andretti Global in recent years. So this is really Ericsson's chance to turn it around, put the Thermal mistake behind him, put him back in the forefront, and have a good weekend at a track he knows well, which is going to be really important for him. Improve that he's not playing behind Kirkwood and Herter at the team, and basically just to recover from what was quite a frustrating weekend at Thermal after a decent start to the season at St. Petersburg.
I'm going to go a little bit more obscure, I think, for my second one, and I'm going to say Callum Ilott. I just think his Thermal, obviously making that misjudgment at the start, running into the back of his teammate, being lifted semi-airborne, was not the sort of mistake you really want to be seeing a driver for a new team who is supposedly I know he's not got a ton of years under his belt in IndyCar, but he is the veteran, quote unquote, of that team. So he's the guy they really need to be having laps, and he can't be affording incidents like that. And I'm not saying that Ilott needs to be finishing in the top 10. St. Pete was solid. He was just inside the top 20, which for a new team was all right. But actually off the back of Thermal, he trails his teammate Robert Schwartzman by 3 positions in the championship, and obviously Schwartzman being a rookie. So I think it's probably important for Ilott that he steps up and does outperform Schwartzman, because obviously Schwartzman had such a rocky weekend with such little running in Thermal, yet still ended up having, on paper, a better weekend than Ilott. So it's just important that they have a clean weekend. He's shown glimpses of pace, don't get me wrong, but yeah, just got to execute, and I think that goes for Prema as a whole. I'd also like to give a mention. I mean, to Andretti as a whole, they've obviously been the force on street circuits. Herter's another one kind of playing a bit of catch up. Obviously, after St. Pete, I feel like he maximised it there, and then likewise, really Thermal finishing 4th looked like all they had on the day. But this is a track where Andretti are really strong. Obviously, there are not many street courses on the calendar, but this is kind of their forte. St. Pete, they rolled off quickly, maybe didn't get the results that they wanted in the end. So they've really got to, capitalize on having such a strong base package. And yeah, we caught up with Kyle Kirkwood earlier this week ahead of the event. He obviously won his first IndyCar race at Long Beach in 23. There was obviously the statistic after the 2023 season that he had won 2 races, and they were also his only 2 top 5s in IndyCar. I remember joking with him about that on media day in 2023, in 2024, pre-2024. So I thought I'd ask Kirkwood kind of for an update on that, where he feels he is in his development. And obviously he's growing a lot in consistency. He's just aiming he needs that peak performance along with the consistency. But he started this season well, finishing 5th and then 8th. I think he had a couple of issues in Thermal with tyre deg and dropped down late on. But yeah, here is a bit on what Kyle Kirkwood had to say earlier this week.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Kyle. First of all, I remember mentioning to you, Kyle, on I think Media Day in 24 that your only two top fives in IndyCar were your two wins. I'm just wondering,
That is
kind
right.
of, yep. I'm just wondering, kind of a year or so on, where you feel you are in your kind of personal development as an IndyCar driver. Obviously, now in your fourth season and your third with Andretti.
I mean, I feel like I'm chipping away at it. I'm disappointed that we haven't gotten the wins that we had in 2023, but we're also putting ourselves in positions to be a lot closer to a lot more wins. So, I mean, my goal coming out of 2023 was to get more top fives, as I mentioned to you after 2023, and we've definitely done so, and we put ourselves in position to win a lot more recently. But we still haven't gotten those wins. So it's a two-edged sword. I think this weekend coming into Long Beach is one of our best opportunities to do so. And we're obviously going to be looking for a win. And honestly, at this time, we need wins to be able to win a championship here, because Alex Palou is just walking away with it at the moment. So we need to turn that ship around.
I guess, how do you believe you can bridge that gap to what Palou and what Ganassi are doing in order to kind of get up there in that championship fight?
Well, I mean, we got to do the same thing that they're doing. We got to win races. We can't let them get a big head start. That's one thing that Palou has done, I think, in the past couple of years, is he gets a huge head start, and then everyone kind of claws back at him at the end of the season. But he's kind of just on cruise control at that point. So we just need to not let him get out front and kind of hold him back in a little bit, and that comes with not letting him win at all these tracks, especially the ones that we're strong at. So yeah, this is a very crucial weekend for us to turn things around in the championship hunt. Even though it's so early in the season, a lot of people don't look at points and they're like, oh, well, it's only 2 races in of a 17 race season. Yeah, but if the guy's 60 points ahead of you, you got to kind of pay attention to that. Like there is a long way to go, but you're also falling behind very early, which is not something you want to do.
And then I guess looking specifically at Long Beach, it's often kind of seen as second in command to the 500 in terms of prestige. You're obviously a winner there. So I guess, what was it like to win at that track, and why do you think, or what do you think makes it so special as an event?
I mean, the history behind it is what makes it so special. The fans that come out to it, it made it even more special that I won it with Andretti, even given that they have so much history around that track. It's prestigious because of how many people show up, really, and the history history behind it, which is the same reason for the Indy 500, right? So it still is our second biggest race of the year, and it was a really big deal for me to win there. But I mean, any win's a win, so I would take it anywhere.
Cheers, guys. Best of luck this weekend, Kyle.
Right, being race weekend, we have got a Fast Six predictor tournament to choose. So give us a second and we'll come back to you with our Fast Six predictions. Cool. I'll start off with Will Power for this one. Qualified well here last year.
I also went for Will Power.
Yeah. Did you go for Felix Rosenqvist?
Yep, last year's front row.
He's like now a shoo-in into these every week.
Feels like it. Credit to him. I mean, that's impressive.
So both got last year's front row. I'm going to go Colton Herta because he's just so good here.
Likewise, Herta. This is boring. Really,
this is
sorry,
like last
listeners.
week. It was happened last time, didn't it? I mean, I only got like one each. Carver Kirkwood.
Likewise.
Oh dear, this is not going to be too similar nowadays. Hello.
Likewise.
Oh, Cody 6 of 6. Go on.
Lundgaard.
Oh, phew. I'm Joseph Newgarden. So same as last time, we've somehow picked 5 of the 6 the same. So
the head-to-head is Lundgaard against Newgarden here.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was like Kirkwood versus McLaughlin and Newgarden last week or something. So sorry, listeners. I don't know why this keeps on becoming so samey, but that's it. But anyway, this one finally it is race week after a very difficult 3 weeks of content. Hopefully you enjoyed Connections. Let us know if you did. We might do it again, just a random episode in the future, because I thought it was quite good fun actually. So
yeah, good idea.
I enjoy that. So if you do like that, let us know. Let us know how you got on in your scores. Let us know if you got anywhere close to what we did. And yeah, that's all the news basically from this week. Not too much, and a little bit towards Long Beach. But for this time, thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.